9 SUVs, and every single one of them starts at less than 30 grand.
The affordable tiny hatchback or sedan is dead, replaced by the tiny affordable SUV. And we brought so many of them here today that we had to have 2 hosts to help cover them all.
We've spent time with all of these little SUVs, putting them through the infamous Edmunds testing and ratings process. So now we're about to tell you what's good, what's bad, what's best, and what's worst.
So don't worry about scheduling 9 different test drives for yourself. We're gonna tell you everything you need to know about each one of these cute utes.
Did you just say ute?
Utes.
Utes.
The Mazda CX-30. It was once second in our extra small SUV rankings, but today it is dead last. Oh, how the mighty has fallen. Let me show you why. In the 5 years since the CX-30 got a serious update, much of its competition has gotten a little bit bigger. And that just makes the CX-30 feel especially small inside. As you can tell, rear legroom is very compromised, and also the cargo area is among the smallest of all the SUVs we have here. That means that adults, they're gonna feel cramped pretty much all the time. If you put a rear-facing car seat here, this passenger will be sitting in the dashboard, and if you're gonna go on a road trip, make sure you pack light. Outward visibility is also seriously compromised. The rear glass is small, and over both shoulders, you have gigantic blind spots, though thankfully, blind spot monitors are standard, which help a lot. But the CX-30's main sticking point is going to be its technology, or lack thereof. Most versions of this vehicle come with an even smaller screen than this, and I said screen and not touchscreen because for that screen you have to use this controller here to do everything, and that gets really annoying. Turbo versions of the vehicle get a bigger screen that is a touchscreen. However, you can only use it when you're using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and the screen is mounted so high up that you can't comfortably reach it from either the driver or passenger seat. And a touchscreen that you actually can't reach to touch, that's not really that helpful, is it? Let's keep this simple. In typical Mazda fashion, the CX-30 is beautiful, drives really well, and has a high quality interior. But its dated technology and itty bitty living space means that it just doesn't cut it anymore.
Okay, so you know the Toyota RAV4, but what about its less accomplished little sibling? Now there are some things that we like about the Toyota Corolla Cross, but make no mistake, this is one of our least favorite small SUVs. Let me start by telling you what is good. Ride quality is great for this kind of car. It's comfortable enough to easily absorb small impacts and take the edge off larger ones, but it also doesn't feel too soft when you go around a corner. There's some decent tech here too. You get wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, both of which are standard, and Toyota also gives you a good number of standard safety features: automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assist, and adaptive cruise control. Even get that on the cheaper models. We love to see that. So when we tested and compared all of these SUVs, we focused on the gas-only version of the Corolla Cross. But we also have to give Toyota a little bit of credit here because they make this vehicle in a hybrid as well. And at least at this moment in time, this is the only one that comes like that, with the option of gas-only and a hybrid. But obviously there are reasons why the Corolla Cross shows up this low on our list. Car seat installation, for example, can be challenging because this door opening right here gets real narrow at the bottom. Because we're tight on space in general, if you have a rear-facing car seat, you're gonna wanna scoot up this chair much further up than you'd otherwise want to. But even without a car seat, things are tight back here. These are the smallest SUVs from all of these automakers, so we're not expecting a whole bunch, but there is definitely less space to move around in the Corolla Cross than some of its main competitors. But most important to me is that this interior feels cheap. There is hard, scratchy black plastic everywhere, and then you get this sort of like synthetic leather situation going on. It's just rough and not that nice. Obviously, we can excuse some of that for this kind of money, but as you're about to see, others do this a lot better.
If your plans include anything more than an easy dirt road or a gravel parking lot, the Subaru Crosstrek is the only vehicle here with any sort of off-road cred, especially when it comes in wilderness form. But even if you're not going to leave the pavement, there are still strong reasons to consider Subaru's lovable, plucky SUV. Let's check them out. First, the ride quality is among the best you'll find here. The suspension is soft and comfortable, but it never feels sloppy. Plus, the extra ground clearance gives you more confidence to charge through potholes and drainage ditches without fearing damage. The Crosstrek is also great for car seats. Its wide doors means it's easy to bring the seat in, and it also has these cool Velcro covers for the latch anchors instead of plastic ones that you can use. Now, predictably, since it's easy to fit a car seat in here, it's also easy for you to get in as well. And for anyone who's mobility challenged or has older parents, that can be a game changer. We should also mention Subaru made its previously optional stronger engine standard this year on all but the base model. So in most cases, this is one of the few cars here that's unlikely to feel too slow in highway merging and passing situations. So there's plenty to like about the Subaru, but there is a reason that it finishes all the way down in 7th, and it mostly has to do with problems on the interior, starting with these front seats. They are too firm and lack support, which means that on long drives they become uncomfortable very quickly, and on top of that, there is a lot of wind noise in this cabin, both from the outside and weirdly from the inside, because these AC vents, they're really noisy as well. Subaru's driver aids also leave a lot to be desired, and it's not a problem of features because it's got plenty of safety features, it's how they work. The lane keep assist is really bouncy, the adaptive cruise control isn't smooth, and the system also has a tendency to just beep at you all the time, so you end up shutting a lot of these things off, and when you do that, they might as well not be on the car at all. While you can just turn off the driver aids, unfortunately, you can't do that with this screen. And it's not an issue of size because at 11.6 inches, this is one of the biggest screens that we have here. The problem is that the screen is low resolution and it's not very responsive, so it already feels a full generation behind all the other vehicles here when it comes to infotainment. And that's something that you could say about this cabin as a whole. Looking at it, there's no way that you would believe that this vehicle was completely redesigned just 1 year ago. Everything looks old. Subaru, if you could just fix your interiors, this would definitely finish near the top in our ranking.
Chevy is on a roll right now making good, affordable, small SUVs, and the Trailblazer is one of them. As you can tell, this is definitely not what the Trailblazer used to be. The Trailblazer earned some points in our rating system for its spacious, comfortable interior. And the seats up front are fantastic. They offer lots of support and they're both heated. Love to see that. And if you look right here at the controls, they didn't overcomplicate anything. Knob on the right makes the fan speed higher and lower. Knob on the left, just your temperature. Easy. And then if we shift our attention right up here, the tech is really solid as well. Wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, even a wireless phone charger. Everything's super easy just to use your phone. Makes it a lot more simple. The displays look really good too, and they respond quickly. Driving the Trailblazer is a pretty average experience across the board. It's not too quick and it's not too slow, but Chevy offers all-wheel drive on every trim level, which is great for consumers. The little 3-cylinder engine also returns average fuel economy for this size SUV. There are some downsides to consider, and they mostly have to do with cost. The Trailblazer can get up there in price, especially once you start adding in options, and when you consider its less expensive sibling, the Trax, which we'll talk about in just a bit. Heated seats, automatic climate control, blind spot monitoring, all of these things are going to cost you a little extra, as will all-wheel drive if that's something you need. A fully loaded Trailblazer is going to be in the low $30,000 range. And if you do want all-wheel drive, you have to remember to press the button for it. Most little SUVs like this will automatically engage the rear wheels if they detect slipped, but not the Trailblazer. It's a little odd that they make you go down and remember to press the button when you're in a panic state of mind thinking, oh no, my car is losing traction.
The Nissan Kicks is a handsome little SUV with one of the lowest starting prices of any of the vehicles that we have here, and sitting still, it makes a pretty good impression. However, once you get moving, it's a different story. There is plenty to like on this interior. The Kicks is one of the newer vehicles in our test, and from the modern layout of this dashboard, you can definitely see why. Now, this big touchscreen here, standard on all Kicks models except for the base, and it also comes with surprising technology features like a surround view monitor and front and rear parking sensors. We also really like what Nissan has done with the layout of this center stack. They've resisted the urge to put too many things into the screen where you're doing a lot of swiping around and it can be distracting. You get physical buttons and knobs for a lot of the things that you're going to use often. For example, this camera button, which is a personal favorite of mine, and the climate controls, they're all neatly arrayed right here where they're easier to access than they would be if they were in a screen. But there is a big catch here, and that is how it drives. For an SUV, the Kicks rides really stiffly, and that means you'll feel every single divot and crack in the road, and it doesn't pay off with great handling either. And on top trims like this one, you get an upgraded rear suspension, but it doesn't really help matters, and it even costs you rear cargo space. On top of that, start the clock. The Kicks is the slowest car here, and it's not just slow, it's really slow, and slow enough that it becomes an issue in normal driving, and slow enough that I can tell you all of that in less time than it takes for the Kicks to get from 0 to 60 miles an hour. Usually where there's a lack of speed, there is great efficiency, but in the Kicks, unfortunately, you're not really getting that either, because in our real world testing with the all-wheel drive version of this vehicle, we didn't come close to hitting its EPA estimated 30 mpg combined. So the Kicks offers good value with its technology and great for the money interior. However, since this is a car, you're going to have to drive it around every once in a while, and that is where the Kicks starts to lose a lot of its appeal.
We are huge fans of the Honda Civic, and the HR-V is a lot like that, except a little bit worse. Now there's still some definite strong points to go over here. You remember the old Honda Fit? Well, the HR-V is the effective replacement for that car. But like the old Honda Fit, there is a ton of space in the second row, especially for something that's this small. And the cargo area behind me is super generous as well. Honda has just nailed the packaging in the HR-V. Spacious? Yes. Full of amenities? No. There's no place to charge my phone, and there's no air conditioning vents back here. Heck, there's not even a place that folds down with cup holders, no center armrest. Come on, Honda. The HR-V feels like a high quality product too. You know, unlike that Corolla Cross I was in earlier, everything I touch around me and even the controls don't feel cheap. It's nice to be in an inexpensive car with a higher quality interior. I'm also really impressed with the HR-V's ride quality. The suspension is compliant enough that it doesn't feel harsh over big bumps, but at the same time, you don't feel disconnected from the road. That's classic Honda right there, striking the perfect balance. But we still recommend alternatives to the HR-V. Why is that the case? Well, where I'm sitting is part of that problem. These seats are just not super comfortable. They're lacking cushion, and over here on the driver's seat especially, there's no lumbar support to get your back comfy. If you're considering buying one of these cars, we recommend sitting in it as long as you can before you purchase and make sure it works for you. The tech here is starting to feel dated as well, and unlike the Civic, which we like so much, you don't have the option of having the Google integration. You do get Apple CarPlay, which is nice, but it looks small on this screen. And on the base model HR-V, the display is even smaller than this. And then there's the driving tech. Now Honda is generous with the features you get in the HR-V, but everything just doesn't work as well here. You get a lot of false alarms while you're driving, and the adaptive cruise control, for example, isn't very responsive when you're actually driving. That might have something to do with the fact that this is the second slowest car we have here, only behind the Nissan Kicks.
We know you almost forgot about Buick, and to be honest, we do too sometimes, but the premium aspiring brand is still here, and they're still making SUVs, and the best thing in their lineup just might be found at its entry point, the Envista. Technology is a strong point in the Envista. Every trim level gets a good sized touchscreen and a digital gauge cluster, and it comes in this nice modern looking single setup here. Also, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard, and that is pretty much all you need. The Envista's design also helps it to stand out. Its slanty coupe-like profile makes it unique among vehicles, and usually for extra small SUVs, you're not going to get much road presence or driveway pride, but the Buick stands out in a good way. We have to give them credit for that. Buick doesn't always do a great job of differentiating its products from its more modest Chevy counterparts, but here in the Envista, it's done a pretty good job, especially in the top level Avenir trim like this. There are nice materials, and the overall design and layout do feel more upscale. There are several things, however, that keep the Envista off of the top of our list, and it starts with the cargo area. Now remember that sloping roofline that we like so much for style? That has a negative impact when it comes to cargo space. It has one of the smallest of any of the vehicles in our test on the spec sheet, and in practice, this space is just less practical and easy to use. That roofline also negatively impacts rear headroom and makes it harder to get in and out of the vehicle. I actually whacked my head on the side of it climbing in for the first time. Not ideal. And while we like that the Buick has enough materials and design differences from the Chevy to make it feel fresher, we also wish that it came with a few more features, like perhaps dual zone automatic climate control so you can set different temperatures for the front passengers. And there's also one more catch that might be a deal breaker. You cannot get this with all-wheel drive. And then there were two.
You know what, the last 7 SUVs all seem to have about an equal number of pros and cons.
But for these two, the good definitely outweighs the bad.
And that's why we think they're most deserving of a spot in your driveway. Let's start with the Chevy Trax. Not only is this a solid small SUV, but it has the least expensive starting price of anything in this video. So the Trax is the corporate cousin of the Buick Envista, which we just talked about a little while ago. Now, aside from the Buick feeling a little bit nicer inside, we don't think it's worth the extra money that it costs over the Trax. And then there's the Chevy Trailblazer, which we've already talked about. The only reason you should buy the Trailblazer is if you need all-wheel drive, because the Trax doesn't offer it. But just because it's cheap does not mean we're missing out on features in here. I have a wireless charger, heated seats up front, just to name a few. And wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto come standard. And just like I mentioned in the Trailblazer, the controls in here, dead easy to figure out. There's a good amount of storage in here and 2 different places to charge your phone up front and in the back. Something personally I like as well, plenty of places to store your phone. When it comes to the back seat, the Trax is also better than the Envista because it has a boxier shape. The problem is, once you're back here, there's no cup holders and, tell me if you've heard this before, no rear seat air vents. Boo! Your friends are definitely gonna be fighting to sit up front. And even though you get more cargo space back here than you do in the Envista, it's still not wide enough to fit golf clubs. So I guess you're gonna have to throw those in the back seat, but who cares? Golf clubs don't need air vents anyway. And not only is the Trax a really good value, I actually think it looks really good too. Or you could drive Iron Man's helmet.
We finally made it to our favorite of the bunch. This is the Hyundai Kona, and a big reason that we like it so much is this interior. A lot of the other vehicles that we've covered today, their interiors feel phoned in, but the Kona is the opposite. It looks great in its layout, super intuitive to use. We also like the fact that this big screen comes standard on every single Kona. On top of that, its small item storage is excellent. You get a little shelf here above the glove box. In this area, you can actually fold the cup holders away to store bigger items or pop them out when you need to put in a can. The Kona has a spacious interior, including in the back seat, which has plenty of room for adult passengers and even a rear-facing car seat. And those sitting back here will be happy to find that there are not only rear air vents, but also rear USB ports, which is not a given among the vehicles that we have here today. And that speaks to what I think is actually the Kona's biggest strength. It is feature-rich. Even though it costs a bit more than the other vehicles, you're getting everything. All the other stuff that we like individually in other vehicles, the Kona has it. Surround view camera, wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, heated and ventilated front seats. You get what you pay for with the Kona, and it's a level of equipment you're just not going to find anywhere else. Also, while it might not be as flashy as a big screen or an LED light bar, Hyundai also offers the best warranty in the game. And that can provide a lot of peace of mind, especially if you're buying the vehicle and not leasing. And while we're covering gas vehicles in this video, if you're EV curious and like what you see, the Kona is also offered as an EV. So why wouldn't you buy a Kona, besides the fact that from the outside, I wouldn't call it aesthetically pleasing? It has to do with the suspension. It's just a bit too soft and squishy on the road, and that means that for passengers, they can get car sick more easily. That being said, to us, this is still the best extra small SUV in the game, and the one that we recommend above all the others. And so there you have it, 9 extra small SUVs ranked from worst to best.
You know, none of these are perfect, but somewhere in this lineup of 9 cars, the perfect one for you exists.
Clint, it's rare for us to get 9 vehicles together like this, so I just want to ask you one question. What did you learn?
Dude, so often we talk about new cars are expensive, and that is still true, but it is refreshing to see that there are some cars under $30,000 that are still good. But you know what? Same question. What did you learn?
I think I learned that the small differences between these vehicles can make a big difference for the individual consumer. So I would say that if you're going to go test drive one of these, make sure you bring things that you're going to use in your normal life. So if you have kids, bring a car seat. If you play golf, bring your golf clubs, just to make sure that all of these SUVs are the right size for you.
I think that is plenty of information. If you want to learn more, head over to Edmunds.com.
We've got full ratings and reviews for all of these SUVs, as well as every new vehicle on sale.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Or lack thereof. Mersed? What is mersed?
Wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, sorry.